Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Fake Chats. I'm your host, Andrew Brunet, and today we have a very special guest with us, movie director and co-writer of the Unrestricted War, Yan Ma. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you today because we've got a great conversation, I believe. So, won't you share with us a little bit to get started, some insight and background about the Unrestricted War?
Uh, so this film is inspired by the pandemic. So we mainly focus on the beginning of this outbreak. So we want to reflect on how it gets started and how the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, uses power to manipulate information and public, and eventually turn this local crisis into a global pandemic. Yeah, that's how the film was inspired.
So, was it a specific event during the COVID-19 that really inspired you to create the film?
Well, so the film we mainly focus on the first 30 to 40 days of the outbreak. So, as, for example, when the whistleblower, the Dr. Li Wenliang, he first sent out the message about about the possible virus in the hospital, and then later on he was arrested and forced to confess on TV and saying that he's lying. He was lying, right? And then later on, like when 1 month later, Chinese authority, admit there's actually a virus and it's contagious. By that time, is like for a pandemic like this, it's already out of control. Yeah.
So, the storyline is centered around a character by the name of Dr. Jim Conrad, who was a celebrated Canadian virologist who was leading a major biotech in China. Did you create the character after anyone in particular or a real person?
Yes, actually, yeah, this character, even it's a fictional character, but it's actually based on one of the colleague from our executive producer. He used to be actually a scientist, a research, working in a research studio, in a vaccine studio in Canada, and his coworker and him basically worked together at the time. And then later on, he actually moved to the media industry, and his coworker moved to China and started working on. Basically started his own like vaccine company in China. So during the COVID, his coworker, this doctor, actually signed a contract with the Canadian government, and then later on, so when he finished the vaccine and about to ship it to Canada, it was stopped by the People's Liberation Army and the PLA, right? So the PLA told him that this property actually belongs to the military, Chinese military, so you cannot ship it to Canada. So it was like actually a very shocking news for both like his coworker and the Canadian government. So that's how the Canadian businessmen is actually treated in China, right? It's not everything is related to government program, everything is related to, you can see, I mean, especially for bio this kind of biotechnology research, it's all related to PLA, the People Liberation Army. So yeah, so we are all inspired by connected events like this.
So the film draws clear parallels to real events at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, such as the whistleblower's arrest. How did you balance fictional storytelling with these historical truths to create a thriller that feels both urgent and authentic?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so that's basically something we spent a lot of time to think about during making the film, because we know it's a very sensitive topic. So that's why, I mean, it is a fictional story. It's not a documentary, but we did like tons of research. Like we tried to, at least for the pandemic storyline, one of the subplots, we tried to make it very close to what really happened during the in the early days of the pandemic. So including the rest of the whistleblower and the TV confession and all that. And like I mentioned, a lot of the characters in the story actually based on real individuals. what happened to them, right? So I would say it is a fictional story, but the message behind the story is actually very real. The censorship, the lack of the freedom of speech and information, the harm that can bring to us is actually very real. So that's why I'm thinking we cannot look away. We really need to reflect on this, because next time if this kind of thing happens again, if we are not ready, we may not have a second chance.
So the film's title references the Chinese military doctrine of unrestricted warfare. How did you research and incorporate this concept to depict infiltration, media manipulation, and information warfare without overwhelming the human story?
Yeah, I mean during the research, we actually find a lot of a lot of the events is actually like highly aligned to the concepts of unrestricted warfare. So these concepts basically encourage China to defeat their enemy outside of the traditional method. So we had some research, like for example, there are two Chinese Canadian scientists was arrested in Winnipeg P4 lab, and it's a lot of the because of the arrest of Meng Wanzhou, a lot of Canadian citizens was taken hostage by the Chinese authority, so they want to make the exchange. So all that, including the espionage during the in the business world, the internet warfare, and all this cultural, or even cultural warfare, right? So it's all belongs to part of this bigger plan, which is their unrestricted strategy. Yeah, unrestricted warfare strategy. Yeah. Um,
During production, you faced harassment from CCP agents, a relative's income being cut off, and even an actor dropping out due to threats. How did these real world pressures impact the filming process, and what measures did you take to protect your cast and crew?
well, I mean, yes, I mean, as a Chinese Canadian, we kind of understand the risk in the very beginning. So we talk to our producers and crews, because a lot of them are they're Chinese and they still have family members in China, including myself. So like you mentioned, that the my family, for example, they face a lot of pressure, and some of my immediate family members' income got cut off by the local Chinese government. So yeah, it's been a very stressful situation. But again, this is something we all believe that it's an important story that deserves to be told, and we have to really shine a light on this issue. So we decided to move forward. And to me, personally, I think the best way to handle this is not to back down, like because once my family was dragged to their office, and they told my family that they know everything I'm doing here in Canada, there will be consequences and all that. The issue saw like the warnings and threats, but to me, I think the only way to face them is to be strong. And if you back down, they will actually um, go even further. They will ask you to do even more, and next time they will ask you for more information, and you become you work for them, right? So you cannot let them to know that, oh, this is actually working for him, so they're gonna go further and further. So basically, be firm and talk to them, find the courage to confront them. I think that's the right thing to do.
So the film's premiere in Canada was canceled just the day before due to disruptions. As a filmmaker committed to free expression, how was this suppression affected your approach to distributing and promoting the unrestricted war, even on your platform?
Yeah, it was a big it was a big, very tough situation for us, because we did spend a lot of time and money and invested in the commercial release of the film, and then just 1 week before the ticket selling, they decided to cancel the show. So basically, the distributor and the production company all suffer a lot financially. But I mean, eventually, we after several rounds of negotiation, we finally get the film onto the on the big screens. So, but you can see like actually how the long arm, like how far this like Chinese Communist regime can actually reach, right? So how they can influence. This is a part of their cultural warfare actually. So everything we've been through during the making this film and the distribution of this film is actually is experience the unrestricted warfare in real life.
So, did you expect the backlash that you have received from this film?
Well, I mean, we do hope that people can see the message behind it and give us the like, I mean, and it can encourage more filmmakers and or even like other people to stand up to this issue, stand up to the CCP. That's our hope because there are so many brilliant filmmakers even in China. Like I hope this kind of work can encourage them to see something, and more whistleblowers will come up to other issues. Yeah, so that's our hope.
So, the movie portrays the terror of a spreading illness, and there's even scenes of patients and body bags. How did you aim to evoke empathy for silenced voices and torn apart families beyond just the statistics that we often hear?
Yeah, I mean that's the most it's very hard to put that into a film. It's a lot of people in our crew. There's a lot of people actually experience this, so they resonate with what happened back then during the pandemic. So they skipped the country after that. So I remember like once when the film was played in the theater, when the audience actually came to me. She was a nurse during the pandemic, and all her colleagues and they have to shave their head bald, and all the girls they are sent to Wuhan to deal with the situation, the outbreak, and 24/7 there's no break, and they live in the hospital. It was like it was like hell. It was like everything. They are short of supplies and short of staff, and people are dying. But on the TV, there's nothing on the news. They're still saying it's not contagious. There's no virus. It's such a it was such a desperate situation for them. So she watched the film and come to me and told me that everything we portrayed in the film is actually true because she was there. The hospital is only worse. The real situation is actually only worse.
So, you being from China and being there during the COVID-19 pandemic, is what the mainstream media feeding us the truth?
Oh, I wasn't in China during the pandemic. I was saying some of my crew was, and some of the audience experienced it. Um, uh, like the media, I would say totally. This is actually one of the main points when we were talking about the Chinese media. It's not really a media; it's a propaganda machine. So they only serve the CCP's uh, political purpose. It's not like it's gonna give transparent information to anyone. So that's actually the one of the main point, the main message from the film that we need to be prepared for this kind of situation because like we cannot just take whatever they taught us. We cannot just believe whatever they said. We have to actually be careful and beware of this opaque box operation inside of this country. Yeah, even like I heard that there after the outbreak they accept some experts on a trip so to investigate the lab and all that, but it's actually all they put on a show just for this, right? So that whole trip is actually just a show because it's not independent. Independent researchers are not allowed on that trip. Everything has to be pre-planned, and you can only visit the part that they allow you to see. So that's not a that's not independent, transparent investigation. So not until now, we don't have a transparent, independent investigation regarding, the whole pandemic. Yeah.
So, in your recent town hall op ed, you wrote that supporting films like this affirms free thoughts and the human conscious. How do you see the unrestricted war contributing to broader conversations on empathy and repression in global politics?
Well, to me, I mean, as a filmmaker, like in the film, ultimately all the story is about people, it's about human. So I would say on the human level, including myself, like all the things me and my family we faced for making this film. Like I got encouraged by the individuals, um like we during the research we find those the story of these individuals actually encouraged me too. So to me I feel like a story like this, um I hope the story like this can really encourage people to find the courage or faith to do the right thing during a tough situation like this, because sometimes our choice, even a simple choice, can actually impact all of us, the whole world. So yeah, I do hope people can actually find courage from a story like this.
So, with the unrestricted war now streaming exclusively on GJW Plus, what feedback from the live Q&A sessions or audience reactions has surprised you the most, and how has it shaped your view on independent filmmaking?
Yeah, like I mentioned, a lot of um, audience from the Chinese community, they are actually very supportive. That's actually quite, like I feel very touched by that, because a lot, again, as Chinese, I think we are the biggest victim among all this of this pandemic, right? The Chinese people are not to blame, but the CCP actually responsible for this. So the feedback from the Chinese community are actually extremely well, and a lot of people recognize the lies and start to think about what really happened during the pandemic. So that's why I'm thinking the film like this is actually very important, even for Chinese audience. It's not only sending a message to the world; it's also like awakening, equal weak the Chinese people, that so they can actually see through the lies and they can decide a future for themselves. So that's why I'm saying that, like, even it's very tough to make a Chinese story like this in Canada or in the West, but like it actually, I feel the importance of making this kind of film, and we will move on and we will continue on.
So, if you could direct a sequel or related story, what aspect of unrestricted warfare, economic, technological, or biological, would you tackle next to continue illuminating these hidden threats?
Well, yeah, there are so many aspects of unrestricted warfare nowadays, because especially how closely we are tied to China. Um, like for we are thinking about a few topics. It's like right now we have the very bad fentanyl issue that's part of the unrestricted warfare, obviously, and we have the culture warfare. A lot of culture industry are like take over um, by the Chinese capital, and yeah, all like the Chinese money are behind them, and the social media warfare, the the cyber warfare, actually the TikTok and a lot of um, like social media platforms were influenced by the Chinese capital as well. So yeah, so all these are the topics we need to dig into, and um, there's a lot of possibilities to make a next film about this.
Well, Yan, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. I've enjoyed talking with you today. I encourage the folks to look up more about the unrestricted war and to go watch the movie. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, you have a great day.
You too.